This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jim Schaller.
Welcome, good neighbors, to episode number 42 of the Good Neighbor Podcast Estero. Today we have good neighbor David Zechman from the Zechman Group. David, welcome.
Good morning, Jim. Thank you. I am delighted to be here today.
Yeah, pleasure to get to meet some people out here in the community and learn a little bit more about them. So why don't we start off by learning a little bit more about what the Zechman Group does?
Well, the Zechman Group is a healthcare consulting group, but also leadership development group. So it's not just healthcare. And it includes things like I'm an author and I wrote a book, and I can talk about that in a few minutes. Leadership development. I'm an accomplished public speaker. I also serve on some boards, and I'm the CEO of a startup company here in Southwest Florida.
Wow, you've got quite a resume from what I saw online here. How did you get a start in this industry?
Well, Jim, I spent 39 years in healthcare, and I'm still in healthcare. And I retired as a hospital president and CEO, and I lived in many different places throughout the country. My hometown is Cleveland, and I worked in Toledo, Kansas City, Louisville, rural Missouri, and then I ended my career working for McLaren Healthcare as the president and CEO of McLaren Northern Michigan, way up there by the Mackinac Bridge in beautiful Petoskey.
Huh?
Yeah, with lots of snow and cold. But it's wonderful in the summer when you only have about a month and a half of summer. But
Right.
it was really great. So when I retired, I felt like I wanted to do more. I'm not done yet. I was done CEOing as a hospital person, but I really wanted to give back to the profession and especially my passion for compassionate servant leadership, which was my leadership philosophy when I was leading organizations, even as it started as a supervisor. So that's how I got where I'm at today. Very different. I do miss the CEOing part a little bit because I miss the interactions with people. And that's the most important thing that I do right now.
That's you can continue to do that in other ways and take some of the stress off a little bit. So what brought you down to Southwest Florida?
Well, we've always wanted to live in Florida. As again, we grew up in the snow and the cold of Cleveland and the Midwest. And as I said, my last job was in Petoskey. I never saw so much snow and cold in my life. You see how that snow is coming. We were right on Lake Michigan, so it's coming all off of there. But we've always loved it down here. We started in 2007, living part-time in Jupiter on the other side. And then for a variety of reasons, we decided to move over to this side of the coast. And we lived in a place called the Plantation at Treeline and Daniels for our first house full-time. And then once I became full-time, we thought, well, I need a little bigger house. So now we live at the place at Corkscrew, which is on Corkscrew Road. And we think and hope that this is our last house. So we don't want to do the moving anymore. We've moved enough times in my life. So we love being in paradise. We love the weather.
And you don't realize how much stuff you have until you got to move it all, right?
Oh my gosh, it's horrible. Well, my wife likes to throw out everything, and I like to keep everything. So that's a constant battle. When I used to work and be out of town, I come home and stuff was on the tree line to throw away, and I pick it up and bring it back in. So
it's like, I thought I threw that away.
I thought I threw that away. Yeah, well, she does anyway.
Right. So. There you go. So you mentioned you published a book.
I did.
Share a little bit about.
Thank you. My book is titled Driven by Compassion, 8 Values for Successful Servant Leaders. And it can be found on Amazon website or Amplify Publishing website or Barnes & Noble website. As I was trying to build a public speaking business, I felt like I needed to have a book to create the credibility. And I wrote it, and I'm very proud of it. It only took me about a year and a half because I had the outline written already. So the book is based on, there's 8 values of successful servant leaders, and they include patience, trustful, being grudgeless, which I love that word, by the way, honesty and integrity, communication, servant leadership, walk the talk, and commitment. And each of those values is outlined in the book, and it's based on real life experiences. I interviewed people, not just me, by the way. I interviewed supervisors to CEOs. And some of it was healthcare, some of it was not healthcare. So I do have both in there. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. It's an easy read. I believe it's very informative, but I also believe it'll help leaders do three things: refresh, renew, and recapture the passion they had when they decided to become a leader, which is, I think, a privileged profession.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, you've done a lot of good work with a lot of companies nationwide. Is there something that's kind of, I'm going to say, shaped you as far as a challenge that maybe you've overcome that kind of got you to where you are today?
Well, I think when I have two personal challenges in life that really got me into healthcare leadership. First off, I started my life as a high school teacher in Cleveland, and I taught high school biology, and I coached football and track, and loved it, absolutely loved it. But as your readers will understand, or listeners will understand, I only was making $10,000 a year, and so it was a little bit hard to start a family and buy a house. But I had two personal things happen. One, my son, who was our firstborn, passed away from something called spinal muscular atrophy when he was 4.5 months. And that really drove me to get into healthcare. That provided me the impetus to leave teaching and get into healthcare, because everybody that goes into healthcare, Jim, goes in it because for the right reasons, and that's to heal the sick. I mean, we hear about all this controversies, and we hear about all the issues in healthcare and how hard it is. And yes, all those things are probably true, but almost everybody works in healthcare, and it's not perfect. Is in it to help people and to heal the sick. And then second thing I'm trying to personal life too is my oldest granddaughter has the same thing. She has spinal muscular atrophy. She lives in Arkansas. So it just led me to really keep going in healthcare, to do the right thing, to help employees and leaders do what they're there for. And that, again, that's to heal the sick. And that's really the big reasons I got into healthcare.
And that's, yeah, obviously, there's certain reasons why people get involved in a lot of different things, but it's kind of like you had mentioned, it's kind of shaped where you are today, and it's kind of spilled over to what you're doing outside of the healthcare now, and trying to work with the community and try to work with the people in the businesses, and then really help them out. And like you mentioned, give back.
Yes. That's what I like doing. I'm having fun with it. I'm not getting rich from it at all by any stretch, but I'm busy, and that's the fun part. I'm still active and keeping my brain moving and helping people. I'm teaching right now my servant leadership course based on the book to a large organization in Lee County, and it's right now, and it's for their middle managers. And we have a tendency to forget middle managers in any organization, and middle managers are the key to an organization's success, hands down. And we just haven't done a good job of that, not just in healthcare, but in general. So I'm having so much fun with this middle manager course. I've got 40 of them, and we're talking back and forth and interacting and telling stories and role playing, and it's just something I love to do, and I get jazzed from it, and I learn from it, and it's just great.
You've got to have that passion and that drive to make things worthwhile. Then it sounds like you're doing the right things.
I hope
are
so.
there any I'm going to say myths or misconceptions around what you do that maybe we could bust for some of our listeners?
Well, I think part of the misconception I mentioned a second ago, Jim, was the fact that I think there's people that believe that employees don't care. They do care. And there's another misconception that employees that they only care about money, and we all know that that's not really the main driver behind a successful organization. Post-pandemic, employees want to feel valued. They want their leader to provide the resources for them to be successful, and that's really the foundation, the tenet of my book and Compassionate Servant Leadership, is that a compassionate servant leader puts others ahead of themselves. And that's true of life in general. That's what we should be. putting others before ourselves, but especially in business. And this was happening kind of before the pandemic. The pandemic just exacerbated it, and people were tired. But employees, the people that you lead, they want to do the right thing. They want to do good work. And yes, you always have you have people that aren't performing in what you expect, but at the same time, they all want to do what's right. And we sometimes forget that. And that's one of the tenets of what I believe, and that's how you should lead today. And people are beginning to grasp that, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and it's much like customers today, or or the employees today. They just want to be appreciated. They just want to make know that they make a difference, that they're not just a number, that they're not just something to check off, that there is a person behind that as well too. And I think we've kind of, as a society, lost a little bit of a touch of that, is whether it's customer service or just being nice to each other. It's something at a core I think we need to get back to.
We definitely do.
Yeah. So outside, I mean, you are semi-retired. What do you enjoy doing outside of work?
Well, since I moved to Florida full time, I became a pickleball player, like a lot of other people. And so I play pickleball probably 4 times a week. I'm a good player, but I'm not like a superstar or anything like that. But I do enjoy that because it keeps me active. And because of other physical ailments, I can't run anymore like I used to, and do all these other sports when I was younger. So pickleball meets my competitive drive and keeps me in shape. I also like to travel and like to do more of that. But a lot of our travel right now is to visit our grandchildren. 2 of them live in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and the other 2 live in Indianapolis, which we'll be going to on Monday. So that's really a big part of my life right now, and enjoy it very, very much, and can't wait for next week when we're all together.
That's it. It's about getting together, getting the family together, and enjoying life.
Yes.
So are there any, I would say, last minute things that maybe our listeners should know about the Zechman Group or you?
Well, you can 2 things. One, you can I would encourage you to go to my LinkedIn site, okay, because there's a lot of information on there about what I do and my background. I do have a business website called thezechmangroup.com. You can also go to that. Like I said, I'd love the opportunity, if it ever presents itself, to do some leadership development, culture changing within local organizations to move more towards a compassionate servant leadership model. And by the way, Jim, people, when you bring up servant leadership, 2 things happen. One, they think they know what it is, but they really don't understand what servant leadership means. And second, a lot of people they think they're already doing it, but when they're really not. And so we still have a lot of top-down hierarchical type of leaders. And again, like I said earlier, employees want to feel valued. They want their leader to care about them. They want them to appreciate them, and they want to be successful. And the only way they're successful is if their leader provides the resources for them to be successful. So those are I'm also an accomplished public speaker. I would love to do keynote presentations to anyone based on my program, so I can do a half a day session, a workshop. I can do a full day. I can do a keynote presentation. So those are the things I love to do.
Great. It's not, you've got a full plate, and you said you were retired, but
well, let's put it this way. I don't have to go in for those 6 a.m. meetings anymore, and I don't get home at 10 o'clock. I don't get home at 10 o'clock at night and have to get up to be at a 6 a.m. meeting. So no, I don't. And every CEO will tell you that there's no CEO that puts in just 8 hours a day.
Yeah, it's not a 9 to 5. Yep, it's not 9 to 5. So no, yes, well, you've certainly deserved where you are today, and I wish you the best. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you this morning.
Thank you. Pleasure getting to know you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your podcast today. You're doing good work, Jim. Keep it up. It's good for the community and very, very important.
Yes, and we'll see you out there in the community soon.
Thank you, Jim. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Estero. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpestero.com. That's gnpestero.com or call 239-296-2621.